flat, because as you walk, no matter that small place where you are, that dot in the circle where you are, now that ground is flat, and they thought it was flat until they realized that the world is a huge big circle. That is all they know for now, but that's not all to it. So, but when you look at the things that you have heard in the word that God has made, in the one that has been revealed unto you, and what you know, do you believe in the truth? Do you believe in this truth, in this gospel truth? We hope that all the members of the soldiers, who themselves is accustomed to the book of Matthew chapter 13, will be able to receive the word of the Lord and allow it to stay inside of them. To be able to want God, the house of God. Jouvon de Dieu maison, the house of God is inside of you. What about you? Do you want the house of God to be inside of you? The word of the Lord today, in the word that we're hearing, and in the word that you have heard, and I believe you have heard quite a lot of words that requires meditation. The Lord called you to meditate upon the words that we had given you in the past series. And which one of them did you hear? It might be easy for you to say that in the word that you hear, and it might be excited by some of the things you have seen. And of course, a few 2 Sundays ago, we talked about what the Lord himself spoke here from this altar, that there will be more powers and more people are going to lose their positions of power and the authority. And then within the past 2 weeks, you might have heard that the Prime Minister of Italy resigned. But the focus is not about people who are resigning. The focus is about you looking in your life, in whatever positions and powers and the authorities that is you occupy, to ask yourself, do you acknowledge God? Is the word touching your life in such a way for you to actually humble yourself to understand that it is only an opportunity, an unmerited favor from God to you to be able to serve your fellow man? You might have heard a lot of people crying out and talking about the climate, the world is this and that, but fail to acknowledge some supernatural things going on. Things that are beyond their control. If they are so much in power, why then have they not put some coolant system? After all, they have built a machine that generates or could generate as much heat as the sun. Who knows what such machine is being made for the destruction of the earth or the humanity is possible. So you heard about all of that, and probably they have made things that may be able to cool the heat. We want them to deploy it so that some of the European countries in the United Kingdom, that people are dying from heat, that they may be able to find some succor and find some comfort under the cooling nature. Or also in other parts of the world where there are fires all over the place, from the United States, in California, etc., or the western hemisphere of this place, and all the way down to Spain, and countries where people cannot tell the fire being started by things that they don't understand, neither can they contain the fire. But it takes its own course and natural process and comes to an end at some point in the forces of nature, beyond the control of human beings. These are people that like to control human life, and they come and they engage in conduct and behavior that try to force people against their will. And then you try to steer them in one direction so that they can be able to come to terms with the truth and with the will of God and be able to maybe make some changes in their lives so that things could be better, but they find themselves going on the opposite direction. So we are talking about, what about you? We use things that are beyond us and bigger than us to give an example, to take it away from you so that you can choose of your own self. In psychological and psychiatric perspective, I came across a term and a theory and a model and a procedure called the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and in which case you use certain perspective in order to bring people to actually reflect upon their situations and see a different view and perspective so that maybe they can be able to change their life so that they can stop suffering the mental problem they have. We call it CBT model, using cognitive structural adjustment in order for them to change their lives so that their life can become better. So you see all these big examples and supernatural things and wonderful and powerful things going on, but what does it mean to you? You have to be able to bring it to your own personal life. Not just to be excited about the power of God, about the things that are happening, about the changes coming to you, to your life, to change your life, about things that you yourself ought to change. But what about you? So the Lord is asking yourself, are you still the same person? If every day I come to you, then, and I'm always dressed up like this every day, then you will know that this is the way I chose to dress, and this is my favorite dress, and maybe my only dress. So also are sinners. If every day you're doing exactly the same thing that you've always done, the same thing that you know that is not right, that is not good, that is not righteous, that is not holy, that is bad, that is evil, that is wicked, then you have chosen to be wicked and evil and sinful. And even with all the opportunity that God presents to you, you have not shifted in your thoughts, in your words, and in your actions.